Whoa, two videos in one day. What's going on? Is the world ending? No. I also forgot about regional results. Well, didn't forget, but I didn't know if I wanted to cover these or not, but I might as well because it's really important because of this. Canada has now won the, the past three North American based events because, as you can see, NAIC, North America Tournament, won by Canadian. Pittsburgh, North American event, won by Canadian. Peoria, won by Canadian, North American event. This is exciting for all Canadians because it just shows, hey, don't mess with us because, yeah, we, our players are very strong. So, starting off, statistics for day two, we have seen somewhat of a meta share. Well, we've seen the top six on stream, but the other ones, there were 15 Mews, which is really surprising. Most of these, yeah, 12 of these were DTE, which the fact that that's been able to come back, it also got third place at the event. Um, the fact that these were able to come back because of just the lack of Spiritomb, the lack of Drapion, is impressive, honestly. 13 Giratina, it's just been Giratina Lost Zone because it's the most powerful deck. Arceus decks are very much on the decline. As you can see, there's only five of them and there's three different variants. It's not in the best place right now. Rapid Strike Box, pretty decent, but it wasn't really a good call, as you can see. Well, a decent call, but you can't snipe Charizard once it's evolved, so there's that. One Lost Zone Gudra, which is it's pretty well positioned. Two Palkia, one was Gardevoir. I'll need to take a look at that when I go into deck list because that actually kind of intrigues me. But one was Chen Pao, which is kind of obvious. Anyway, results. Top eight, we saw there was let's go from eight up. There was Chen Pao, which is one of my most favorite decks. Three Chen Pao, three Frigidbacks, 2-1 split because you want the 7 HP one for the Lost Box matchup. And I'm still unsure of how I feel about two Baxcalibur. Simply because it's yeah, I don't know how I feel about two Baxcalibur because you want to find it immediately. Yes, you're playing 4 Ultra, 4 Nest, which just increases your consistency, but if you can't, I think I would rather play 3 Nest Ball and 3 Baxcalibur because, well, yes, it does lower your consistency to get set up because you have one less basic out. You also have one more Baxcalibur out. You're playing 2 Super Rod anyway. So if you mill it with Pokestop, you have an easy way to find it. Plus 4 Ultra Ball makes more sense because you want to find your Barrel easier, and you can't find that with Irida, so may as well play 4 Ultra Ball instead of 4 Nest. Yeah, I would honestly rather play 3 Backs and 3 Nest, just because I want to find an easier way to get this out. It's your entire deck. You want to get Baxcalibur set up as quickly as possible. Sometimes you want to get 2 out, and if you have 1 prized and 1 gets knocked out, you're kind of out of luck. 7th place, Brent Tonneson all the way from Australia. This is not the first time an Australian has come to a North American tournament and done well. We saw Henry Brand come to one of the regionals last season and win the whole thing with Gardevoir as well. This is more of a traditional build. It's playing Reversal Energy, it's playing 10 Psychic, because typically we've seen Australian players, they have been going heavy on Zacian for Sealstone. It's not the case. This time they're going towards Gardevoir with Reversal Energy because one prize is really good. For Iona, which, yes, please do. Playing the Mew EX, this is really like okay. I don't hate Mew. The issue is if they see it coming, they're going to bench. They're going to either not bench Greninja or they're going to bench Greninja Manaphy, which does kind of leave you in a situation because people like the first thing that was talked about with Mew was copying Greninja. So if they know you're playing Mew, they bench Greninja, they are going to bench Manaphy right away, kind of negating your strategy. I do like the one Mirage Step. I'm growing on it more, even though I don't play Gardevoir anymore because it's not been my kind of deck. Mirage Step does just let you set up more Curlia if you're not getting set up with Ralts, or if you prize a ton of them, which sometimes does happen. So having the backup option is really nice. But aside from that, this does just look like your typical Gardevoir list. The only difference is no Palpad. Um, no Palpad, and I guess the Worker Collapse Stadium, because typically you see one Worker and three stadiums, and you see like one Boss, one Palpad to negate that. But it's interesting. I'll give him that. And he got seventh. So who am I to complain about what happened? We have Lost Zone Charizard. And by Lost Zone Charizard, I mean Radiant Zard, not the EX, which is surprising because I don't think anybody expected this to be a deck with uh, with how everything's been going. But he's playing the Ditto, which is pretty interesting because it makes Comfy. It basically gives you five Comfy in the deck, at least when you're starting your, at least when you're opening your hand. It basically gives you a fifth Comfy start because you just transformative start into the Comfy right away. Um, Playing Halucha Sableye because it just means you can do Halucha Sableye, knock out two Comfy, knock out two 70 HP Pokemon, which is really, really good. People are playing 70 HP Pokemon to get around this little gremlin, and being able to get around their their counter has been really good, as we all know. Playing the Articuno. Ice Symbol, Water Pokemon do 10 more damage. This card, I see why it's in here because we just looked at Gardevoir. Cresselia is your answer to Lost Box. That has 120 HP. It's going to have 120 HP at the end of their turn, and Cramorant does 110. So Articuno puts it up to 120 and knocks it out. Which I still find to be absolutely hilarious that it's an answer to Gardevoir, which is a decent matchup, I guess. Aside from that, it seems like a typical Charizard list, Echoing Horn, because you're trying to get around all the two prices because Charizard is very much a late game card. I've seen before people say, "Oh, play a Magma Basin." I agree with that because it lets you attack with Charizard when your opponent has taken three prizes instead of four. Um, and also even when they've taken two, if you attach with Raihan in the same turn. But that is very much besides the point. I guess the argument is you're only playing two fire. Have fun getting them in the discard with no Ultra Ball. But it's not that hard to do, honestly. You can just attach retreat, the fire energy, and have it in there for a later turn. It's not the hardest thing. Roxanne is interesting because for mirror matches, Lost Box does not have a good way to get around Roxanne. Um, we have two Miraidon decks. I'm gonna look at Jesse's because, as I recall correctly, JW had a deck list error, and I believe, oh no, they fixed it. Yeah, it was supposed to be two Beach Court, two three path. So yeah, it's been fixed. So I'll look at this one because it was the higher placing one because unfortunately they paired against each other in top eight, I believe. So yeah, I believe they're like somewhat similar at least. If not, correct me. Uh, but yeah, typical beach court Miraidon having the out to path in the deck while unfortunately while having five stadiums is not the best idea. Having the out to path in the mirror is really good because it means you can get set up if you're going second, just so long as you draw into it. Um, Lightning Symbol pushing up to 230. There are a few 230 HP Pokemon will that you will need to get around. Raichu. Um, I mean, it does help with Raichu math because while yes, you're not gonna attack with Raichu into single prize Pokemon. It does mean you only need to discard one energy when knocking out things like Comfy, things like Frigibax. If it's the 7 HP one, if it's 60, you don't need it. But yeah, there are Ralts is another one actually. Ralts is the better example because 7 HP. If you need to do 120, that's not the best. We have Rowan, local to the GTA, and it's an interesting Mew list. He's got Luxray, he's got Grabber. Um, from what I recall correctly, the Luxray Grabber was for Charizard, from what I recall him saying, because Luxray Bank Snipe, discard a trainer you find there. You Luxray the you go grab her their Charizard or Pidgeot, whatever is there, and then you grab her either Bear Candy, Ultra Ball. Basically, you try and get rid of their outs. So you go Judge or Iono if they're below prizes. Grab her, Luxray. Answer speaks for itself. Which is a pretty interesting innovation because a lot of people were thinking, oh, there's going to be a lot of Charizard, and there was. It was the most popular deck. Uh, this is just an easy answer, and a lot of people have been playing non-fusion strike cards just to get around stuff. Like as we saw with Sword and Shield on, to get around Lugia, Mew decks were playing Aerodactyl V. That was not a fusion strike Pokemon, and it still worked. Finals. It was Lost Zone Box versus Lost Zone Kyogre. This is the typical turbo list. It's not playing Drapion, which I don't know if I like or hate, because Drapion does just give you Drapion does give you a third out to Forest Stone, which is really, really good because you want that a lot. Just because the consistency of it to get the turn one Mirage Gate. Aside from the Drapion, it does look like a typical turbo Lost Zone box. You got 8 switch outs, you got 3 vacuum just to be able to find it, 2 stops, 6 supporters. Yeah, you're heavy on items. You're gonna find, well, unless it's game one of the finals, you're gonna find most of it most of the time. And champion Raymond Long, another Toronto-bound player, or at least in that general area. That he is a really good player, and I can attest to this by playing against him and witnessing him play in person. Yeah, he did honestly deserve to win at least at some point in his career. Uh, Unless I'm thinking wrong and he's already won a tournament, but at least in a recent setting, because this he is known to be a Kyogre player, and he shows that yeah, Kyogre is still a good deck, despite the fact that it won Pittsburgh. People did not respect it, and it showed up again. Um, I think now that it's won 2 tournaments in a row, people are going to respect it. In Sacramento, I think next weekend, but we'll see what happens. Typical, typical Lawson stuff. You are playing the one Pidgeot V to enable Forest Seal Stone, but as soon as you Forest Stone, you're likely going to vacuum it away if you can find it. Vacuum it away and then Vanishing Wings because you want to stay single prize and make the game go forever. Not forever at least, but as long as possible. And try and get Aqua Storm off. The only issue is Manaphy, obviously, and if people are playing a lot of Super Rods in their decks to recycle Manaphy or even more copies of Manaphy itself, it's going to become an issue for Kyogre. But we will see what happens. 3 stadium outs, all different, which is, I guess some of them have their uses. Pokestop, you're a Lost Zone deck. You are very item reliant. Beach Court, a lot of your Pokemon have one retreat, so giving them effectively for retreat or one retreat in the case of Zamazenta is always nice. Artisan, like I said earlier, you're trying to stay Puritan single prize, so you're getting out everything that's not Radiant Greninja or Pidgeot. But you're likely going to grab those with Nest Ball or Battle Pass anyway. You're drawing through your entire deck. It's interesting. 5 supporters as well. Colress, Roxanne. Roxanne is a decent option because, like I said, Lost Zone typically does not have an answer to hand disruption unless you're playing it yourself. So being able to Roxanne late game and then set up Aqua Storm because their hand is dead is really, really good. Um, Another thing to mention, playing the Zamazenta because have you don't have a way to deal massive amounts of damage. You've got but with this you've got retaliate. So if you get knocked out, you're dealing 220, which knocks out your one basic V that you want to knock out, and then you just go Aqua Storm for 4 prizes. Really good, as we have seen twice now. But yeah, I did want to look, like I said, I did want to look at the Gardevoir Gardevoir Palkia, I believe it was, which is right here. Um, yeah, seems like there is some interesting things about this because typically you see Gardevoir paired with Chien-Pao paired with the Barrel. It's the typical Palkia stuff. But with this, you got Gardevoir, which means you can power up a lot of interesting things, despite only having 9 energy. You can power up Aqua Storm easily. You can power up Concealed Cards easily. Not Concealed Cards. Power up Moonlight Shuriken. Um, The only issue is getting them back into the deck. I would prefer to see maybe two more energy to easily hit Shining Arcana, but I can see what they're going for. You power up stuff like Hailblade, Aquastorm, Moonlight Shark, and all of these effects that we have seen be time and time again very, very, very strong. But I guess it just didn't do well because it got 116th place. But it's still an interesting concept. But yeah, that's all that there is to that is all that there is to mention about Peoria. Um, this is going to be the same format for Sacramento and Toronto. So will this meta evolve? Who knows? But for now, we will see what is gonna happen. So this meta could change overnight, as we have seen a lot of metas do. Or it could not change at all, and we see this be the same exact thing that happens in Sacramento. And Lost Zone Kyogre and another Canadian wins again. Who knows? But for now, that's all there is to mention. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all later.